I know it's not even officially the holiday season yet, but most luxury brands are already prepping to launch their spring summer collections, which I know is ridiculous, but Hermes is no exception. So I figured it's time for us to revisit some of the new bags launching for spring summer. Just in case any one of these bags pique your interest, I want you to have plenty of time to talk to your boutique about it before everyone else does. So without further ado, if you'd like to get a little sneak preview of what bags you'll find in stores at Hermes in the coming month, I think we have over 10 or 11 bags to look at, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on marching. Why don't we start with some of the re-edition bags? So these are pieces that were around at one point. Some of them are being reintroduced as they were, and then others are being slightly tweaked and updated. And this first piece I know is going to be incredibly popular. Personally, I have to be honest, it's not my cup of tea. I just don't really like these sort of shapes, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the design. I know it is going to make a lot of people happy, which is the Constance Elan, a piece that is making a comeback. To be honest, I didn't even realize that this bag was technically discontinued. I knew it was part of the a la carte range, but I didn't realize it wasn't actually being offered off the shelf, because I was always so uninterested in these bags. But if you love this more elongated, more formal, narrow shape, it is something that is making a comeback. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I don't like these elongated, pulled and stretched bags. They always remind me, I used to work with Photoshop a lot in school, and you have to be so careful when you're resizing images in Photoshop because they are so easy to be distorted. And these bags kind of remind me of a distorted picture, a bag that kind of lost its proportions, something that was getting resized, but then they forgot to keep the original proportions. Instead, they just stretched it, but it didn't increase the height accordingly. So I'm not a fan of the overall proportion, but I know a lot of people love these smaller bags that are more elongated because they're quite user-friendly. They are easier to pack without the bag becoming overwhelming and overly huge. So if you like a shape like this is obviously something that is going to be right up your alley. It's going to be around in box, in chèvre, which is a great leather to go for if you like really vibrant, really interesting shades, because chèvre is particularly great at absorbing and translating color. I'm sure it's also going to be around in Epsom and in exotic skins. I think the Constance Elan is extremely popular in exotic skins. I'm not sure why that is, but I feel like most Constance Elan bags that I see these days are in exotic skin, and that doesn't mean that they're exclusively being offered in exotic skin, but I think the shape actually works quite well with exotic leathers. But obviously you will have plenty of different leathers to choose from. And if you love the overall more casual approach of the Constance bag, if you like the large oversized hardware, if you like the option of a really comfortable adjustable shoulder strap, but you're looking for a shape that is just a little bit more delicate, a little bit more elegant, this I think is something that you will want to look into. Not to mention that obviously most Constance bags you can carry in a ton of different ways, but especially this one, you can not only carry this as a crossbody bag, as a shoulder bag, but I do think that this particular shape would work incredibly well as a clutch bag, because of course you can tuck the strap inside the bag with any Constance, but with this shape I think it would really be quite special being carried as a clutch bag. Now, if you love the overall shape of the Constance, but you could never really get on board with that large and honestly quite loud hardware, this bag I think you will really enjoy. This is somewhere between, I would say, between a Constance bag and a Chanel classic flap. Now obviously Hermes has a completely different aesthetic from Chanel. Chanel to me is a lot more pretty and proper, but if you like things along the line of the Chanel classic flap with of course an Hermes twist, this re-released Fons de Belle bag is something that I would suggest you look into. It has kind of a similar shape to it as the Constance, but it will add a completely different facet to your collection. This bag is a lot more subtle, a lot more understated, yet it will still turn heads, but it won't turn heads because of how obvious the branding is. Instead, I think this bag looks really expensive because of all the details. The original Fons de Belle bag back in the day came with a leather strap, whereas the new one will feature this really heavy chunky chain detail, and it's going to be around in box and I assume a range of different leathers. I don't think this bag is going to be around in abundance, so if this is something that you would consider, I would suggest speaking to your boutique about it sooner rather than later. Now do keep in mind that Hermes bags that feature a lot of metal detail tend to be on the pricier side. Not that anything from Hermes is inexpensive, but that is just something for you to keep in mind. But if you're looking for a really beautifully understated bag, something that, as I mentioned, will be a statement piece, but it will make a statement because of all the details rather than because of how recognizable it is, this is a great bag for you to put on your radar. This next bag was inspired by an, at this point, discontinued clutch bag, a clutch bag that I actually spent month humming and hoeing about when I first discovered it, which was the Medor clutch bag. I'm sure I have told you this before, but it was one of those bags that I spent a month thinking about. I never picked it up. I got the G.P.S Elan instead, but I kind of regret not getting this bag because I think it is such a beautiful bold statement piece. And if you love this side of Hermes, which isn't quite as casual and laid back as some of their equestrian inspired pieces, but one of those darker, more bold statement pieces that have kind of a rock and roll twist to them, this I think is a bag that you have to look into. It is, I don't think it is currently being offered by Hermes, but I'm sure you can still find it on the Preloved market. It was around in a ton of different leathers and a ton of different colors, and this is genuinely one of those statement pieces that you will never get tired of. It's something that will make an outfit out of the most simple, most basic pieces, but it is being relaunched in a hard shell version, something that is kind of reminiscent of the Petite Ma. You'll be happy to see the Medor Pyramid on a similar trunk-inspired hard shell bag, which I think if you get the chance to add this back to your collection, it's not a purchase you would ever regret. It's something that you can grab with a tracksuit and still look like $1,000,000. There's something incredibly bold yet effortless about this shape and about this design, similar to the original Medor clutch bag. Now, I might be biased just because I love the original design so much, but I actually think that this more sort of geometric, more hard shell shape is even more elevated and even more special. So I am certainly a big fan, but I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this piece in the comment section and whether it is something that you would consider adding onto your wish list, because there is no doubt it is probably not the easiest bag to use and it is not something that will fit a lot, but certain designs are worth the sacrifice of comfort and user friendliness. Now, if you love a boxy shape, there is one more bag I want to introduce you to before you run off to put in a request for the Neo Medor clutch bag. This is something that we talked about. I think it was my video discussing the men's runway show. This is something that was presented as part of the men's collection, but you guys know I don't care about labels. I think you should buy whatever brings you joy and whatever you feel would fill a gap in your collection and whatever proportions you think will suit you. So it doesn't matter it was part of the men's collection. If you like the look of it, make sure that you speak to your boutique about it, which is a new take on the Kelly bag, and it is called the Kelly Multipocket to Go. It's going to be available in box leather, which is a leather that has grown on me over the past couple of years, but not even that can save this bag. To be honest, the more I look at this bag, the less I like it. I feel like there is just so much going on and it just kind of feels disjointed. It kind of reminds me of a Rubik's Cube in a weird way because of all these really boxy kind of disjointed shapes. I don't love the fact that it features all these different pockets, each one with a different Kelly twist closure, which also reminds me of this bag that I keep seeing on teenagers. So I had to do a little bit of digging and I found that it's called the By Far Billy bag, which there's nothing wrong with, but it's not the kind of comparison that you want to draw when you're spending so much money on an Hermes bag. So I don't love the fact that it features all these different disjointed pockets. I don't love the fact of how boxy it is. The overall shape kind of reminds me of something that a zookeeper would carry. So overall it is just not my favorite design, and I think it might be because of that third Kelly pocket. So you have two Kelly pockets on the front, but then you have a third one on the side which is angled the wrong way. So to me it is just kind of fever dreamish looking. There is just so much going on that I personally don't love. But speaking of being overwhelmed by pockets, there is a new take on the Hermes suitcase, which if you want to learn more about the Hermes suitcase, I have just done a video discussing my thoughts on that piece, which I will make sure to link up here. But if you do love the idea of it, I wanted to let you know that there is a cargo version launching, which will feature all these pockets on the outside of the suitcase, which is certainly really cool. But it is not for those of us who appreciate a more streamlined, more simplistic look. And then the other noteworthy bag that is launching from the men's runway show, which I think is going to be quite popular, is a new take on the iconic HAC, which is called the HAC Coupe de Soleil, which is basically an HAC bag that spent a little bit too long in the sun without proper sun protection, which I would not recommend that you do, but I think it is a really cool design. So it is an HAC bag offered in Togo that has the sunburn outline of the clochette that obviously most Hermes bags come with, which I think is a really cool reinterpretation of the HAC bag. Obviously it is something that Hermes plays around with almost every single season, but I think it was really nicely done. It has a little bit of humor, but it is not overdone. It doesn't look weird, it doesn't look overly quirky or too much like a joke, because I think it is a little bit too much money to spend on something that will look like something that was designed for a 5-year-old. So there's a difference between kitschy and playful. I think the HAC Coupe de Soleil is the perfect example of a playful piece, and then this next design is definitely borderline kitschy, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe you guys have a better sense of humor than I do, but I am just not the biggest fan of this next piece, which does take the idea of the saddle bag quite literally, and it does take it to the next level, because this next piece is inspired by the quilted saddle pads that Hermes is really quite known for, and it's called the horseback bag, which is made of technical canvas, and it features the exact same quilting and the same Hermes Sellier patch that their saddle pads do. It's definitely giving me 90s, early 2000s Galliano energy. Now, I'm not exactly sure what to think about this piece at this point. I don't know if it's a joke or if it's really going to be launching, but if it is, I assume it's going to be part of the Hermes equestrian range. If you're looking for a really fun, really playful, certainly extremely casual bag, just know that it is going to be around for the spring summer season. Even though this wasn't planned, it couldn't have worked out any better, even if I tried, because this last bag I wanted to discuss is the perfect example of being kitschy, even though I don't think that was the intention, because this next bag is kind of the statement bag of the season. This is the newest exceptional Hermes bag, which, if you have never heard this term exceptional bags or art bags before, I will make sure to link my unboxing of my first and only exceptional bag up here, which gives you a little bit more insight into what these bags are. But long story short, these are an Hermes collector's dream come true. These are Hermes's most exclusive, most limited, most refined and special bags out there, which we are getting a new take on the Faubourg bag, a design that was first introduced in 2019, and at this point it has turned into its own collection. They have done 4 different takes on the Faubourg bags, which, as the name suggests, is inspired by the facade of the Hermes mothership. So the first 2 colorways of the Faubourg bags were the Faubourg at night and the Faubourg during the day. And then a couple years later, they introduced Faubourg Midnight, a bag that kind of paid homage to the iconic So Black collection. And then also Faubourg Neige, which was inspired by the Faubourg store in the snow. Well, we are getting a new take on this collection, although I don't think it should be mentioned on the same page with the previous 4 bags, because if we compare those to a masterpiece hanging in a museum, this new Faubourg bag is kind of like a random piece of graffiti under a bridge. It is a vandalism against the beautiful range of Faubourg bags, which are personally not my cup of tea, but I can appreciate the craftsmanship and all the effort and design that goes into these bags, whereas I don't think that much could have gone into the design of the new Faubourg on Fete bag, which is the Faubourg boutique during the party season. But I don't think it's a party any one of us would really want to attend. So of course it has this sort of Studio 54 disco vibe to it, but I don't think the execution is where it should be. And I'm hoping that the pricing won't be anywhere near the previous Faubourg bags. So if you're wondering about the original retail price for the Faubourg bags, they ranged somewhere between $30,000 and $48,000. The more simple Faubourg bags, the Faubourg during the day, the Faubourg during the night, and the Faubourg midnight, I think those bags were around $30,000, and then the Faubourg Neige was closer to 50 just because the entire body of the bag was made of alligator, whereas on the previous bags it was only the flap that was crafted of alligator leather. That's why the Faubourg Neige was significantly more expensive, whereas this new Faubourg bag is going to be made of evercalf. It's all made of one leather. The window and the facade isn't actually built out. Instead, it is just really simply scribbled onto the front of the bag, which I get it, not every single bag has to be so complex and so over the top, but the tackiest, worst detail of this bag is the disco ball inspired lock, which I don't think I have ever seen anything quite as cheap looking as that. I mean, this bag reminds me more of something that you would find at Claire's than something that you would find at Hermes. You guys know that I'm not a fan of the Lindy bag, but I would choose the Lindy over this bag any day. I mean, you couldn't pay me to carry this bag, let alone have me pay for it, because there are so many things wrong with this piece. So this is definitely not something that I would suggest anyone add onto their wish list. But obviously, if you have been collecting the Faubourg bags, I understand why you wouldn't want to miss this, but resist the FOMO. It is not something that should be appreciated, because there really isn't much to appreciate on this bag in my humble opinion. And my friends, these were all the new bags launching from Hermes that I wanted to put on your radar. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on these pieces in the comment section. Please let me know your review on these bags. Are you tempted by any one of them? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a least favorite? Please let me know what you think. I always love reading your insights in the comment section. And if you would like me to do a similar video on some of the new accessories and shoes launching for the upcoming season 2, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, because it's definitely something that I could also make for you in the coming weeks. But I just really appreciate you being here and watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this from me, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And I hope to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.